I'm so happy to be here. Margaret Flowers, a great doctor who sacrificed her own career to lead this movement, has to be acknowledged. But I also wanted you to know that Claire McGee and I just called Dennis Kucinich to let him know that he had a lot of friends here in Portland. We tried to call Michael Moore too, but my dear Joel Siegel couldn't get the number. We had the numbers we had are wrong. And you know, I knew Michael Moore. Well, he came into my office in Washington one day. He's from Flint, worker, union man, activist. And he said, John, I want to tell you something. I just sold my house and car, borrowed all the money that I can, and I'm going to Hollywood to make a movie. And I said, oh, I won't, I'm in church. I said, this guy's going to hit me up for some money. I know what this is about. He didn't. But I had never seen Michael Moore with a camera in his hand all the years that I had known him. And I figured that he'd end up, and I told him so, in those Hollywood restaurants where the waiter's got some great idea that's going to, when he gets a break, he's going to really hit it rich. And I said, Michael, they'll be waiting for you when you get off the bus, man. The first thing he did was a hit. The second one, an Oscar. Now that poor guy that I felt so sorry for is a multi-millionaire. Michael, please answer my calls. So, you never know in this semi-capitalist system who's going to strike it rich. But we do know a lot of people are going to suffer in it. The inequality has been commented. And hasn't this been a marvelous turnout here in Portland, Oregon, with all the people? This is incredible. So I'll make my, the idea I was saving for the conclusion I'm going to tell you now. Over one or more glasses of wine, I forgot what happened at Gorman's place last night, we determined that the one thing that is missing is that all of us across the states need to get together, if only for one day, all of us. We'll need a much, look, this is Portland alone. We need to get together one day, everybody that understands what's going on. And everyone agreed with me, and the place that it ought to be is Portland, Oregon. Okay? Portland, Oregon. And it ought to be soon. Now, you know, I mean in the next couple months, spring or something like that, and it'll be a one-day conference. Everybody come to Portland. Now, of course, there'll be the day before the conference, that's 2 days. Then there'll be the day after the conference, that's 3 days. So but it's a one-day conference. You don't have to stay, you don't have to come early or stay late. But we all ought to put our bodies and hearts and mind and commitment on coming together and getting to know these 20-something states that Dr. Flowers has already identified, because they're people like us all over the country waiting for the clarion call, and I say they ought to come here to this city that's been so good and loyal and committed and with the daring ideas that have been exchanged here today. So as we do when I used to be chairman of the Judiciary Committee, all in favor say aye. Aye. And all the noes leave the room and we won't even count you. Congressional democracy at work. Now, the one thing I wanted to do is try to relate this to everything that is going on. You know, it'd be nice if this was all we had to do, and it isn't. And the person that inspired me to this wider view, the greatest person that's influenced my political belief system is Martin Luther King Jr. And when you boil it down, when you try to synthesize this incredible life, it's jobs, justice, and peace. And the part that is very interesting is justice. That means economic and political justice. Now, I've been to a number of events where justice and peace are the things that are lifted up. But guess what? If you haven't got a job, justice and peace aren't as nearly relevant. And I'm reluctant to say this in this audience. Healthcare is, there are people that would rather be sick or stay sick and have a job than have health care and no job. And so it's not accidental that jobs comes first. And the thing that we work on here and big time in our office is health care, universal health care, single payer health care, Medicare for all. We're working on the messaging. But the point is, though, that until we deal with the fact that in my city, 38% of the people in Detroit are unemployed. That's a depression. That's not a recession. That is a depression. And finally, we're just digging up some of the conversations with Bernanke in which he admitted that this economic downturn is in many ways worse than the Depression of the 30s. And I can believe that because those subprime mortgages that were chopped up and rebundled and sent into the markets, economic markets around the world, affected every economy in the world. Everybody was affected. And it started by ripping off the poor and minorities who were worked into that situation. And then on top of it, the hedge fund operators bet against their own the stocks that they were selling. They played the market both ways. It's the most ruthless thing. And I am ashamed to tell you, not one of them have gone to prison yet. And they ought to. And they will. If I am ranking member of the Judiciary Committee and have something to say about it, and I think that I do. And so these things all interact. The climate, global warming, the debt ceiling, the creation of jobs. And by the way, I've got a jobs bill in that's a revision. How many people around the Hayes-Tilden era remember the Humphrey Hawkins Full Employment and Balanced Growth Act? Give them a round of applause. Because we revised it. I was there for that, of course, and worked with Gus Hawkins, who was then the dean of the Congressional Black Caucus from Los Angeles, and of course, Senator Hubert Humphrey. And we got that bill through. And what's at the heart of the whole question of creating jobs is the question that we resolved then, is that the federal government has a legitimate and constitutional duty to create work directly when unemployment rises over 10%. That's what's being debated, and that's what's creating so much vague rhetoric about jobs. Everybody's talking about jobs. Very little is being done about it. And I am respectfully asking you to join with those organizations here in and around this great city to help us move to that aspect. Now, I wanted to just say, there's another fellow not here that's very important to me, and his name is Ed Schultz on MSNBC. He chairs our Congressional Black Caucus events every September, and the panel that he comes on is universal health care. This is the second year in a row that he's done that, and we're just so proud of him. But what about, there's so many, well, let's do it this way. Everybody that's in the healthcare field, profession, the doctors, the nurses, the scholars, please stand up and get your round of applause. Everybody that's in it. Look at that. Up, look at the balconies. Look around you. Look at Thank you. PNHP is correct. Most doctors want universal health care. And I'm so proud of that because the AMA has done everything they can to befuddle the issues and confuse. And if it's not too inappropriate, I'd like to get a word in on behalf of the Tea Party activists. Well, what would you want to do that for, Chairman Conyers? Because most of them are people that have a right to be angry, but they've got their facts mixed up. 91% of all of the radio talk is conservative talk shows. Limbo is just the number one, and Beck and Coulter, it goes on and on and on. 91%, that's Bill Press in his latest book on the subject. And so we can understand the confusion in their hearts and minds. And so I just wanted to thank particularly in addition to Dr. Flowers, is Paul Hotchfield and Mike Huntington. Aren't those guys good? Boy. So here's the thing that the few thoughts that I wanted to just close with. Look, you can never win a fight unless you're ready to get into a fight. And that's what we're in. It doesn't mean you have to be nasty or vindictive or attack one's personalities that don't agree with you or character, of which there's way too much going on now. But there's also something I want to distinguish between facts and what people believe, even if they believe it wrongly, because facts alone will not win this debate. But I'll tell you what, but being accurate will go a long way to set the record straight. But I'll tell you what really does it is the experiences that all of us know and all of those that do not agree with us know is correct. That is, that this system is broken or doesn't even exist. It makes no sense. And even the people that are reaping the benefits, and there's that group of people that will never agree with us, they know that we are right. And we know that we are right. And they're beginning to see that we are unrelenting in our determination to change the health system in the United States of America. And we can do it. And we will do it. Now, this started, and I was so surprised to find out that Harry Truman had the audacity in the first year of his presidency to talk about, in effect, a universal single-payer health care bill. Then there was a line of leaders in the Congress. How many remember Ron Dellums, who wrote the health care bill? How many remember Marty Russo of Chicago, Illinois, that led the struggle? How many remember in the Congress now, Dr. Jim McDermott of Washington, who is leading it? And he's working with me even to this day. And so there's a strong history being written, and we're learning how to message the story, to tell the daily struggles. Just suppose we organize all the people and their families who've been hurt or crushed by this rotten healthcare system. We would have an army of millions, and that's what we're about doing. So I don't have to ask you to join me in Portland, because you'll be here waiting for all of us from around America to get back in just a few months. Thank you very much.